What's going on? I noticed that I'm nearing 600 subscribers, and that is incredible. I'm assuming that you're subscribing because you're actually interested in my content, which is great. So, we share a common interest and you want to see more. So, I wanted to kind of do like a recap, because I'm assuming you subscribe to me because of this car and because of where I'm going with it. So, I'd like to show you where it's at now and what I have for it in order to bring it to where it's going to go. So we'll just kind of have a quick look around. I have NVIDIA N1 Racing Turboback exhaust. I live in a state where there's no emission laws and no inspections, unfortunately, so you see a lot of really messed up cars rolling around, but at least they don't mess with mine, which is great. I do have a Spexy roof vent. Totally unnecessary, but I love it. It diverts air, it rams it into the car, so a lot of times I'm rolling around with it open, don't need AC, but I have it just in case. I got my temperature gauges, oil, water, and exhaust, and I actually have new gauges to replace these. And then over here, the really important gauges are AEM, so you got the oil pressure, the boost, and the wideband. Cluster is the same, stock. This is a STI, an 07. Pexy turbo timer, not needed, but nice to have. Pioneer, I think it's the AVIC 940 BT, I believe. Not super crazy or expensive, but it works and I like it. Again, it's an STI, so it is a 6-speed manual transmission, and because it is the STI, the 07, it has the longer gearing, and the gearing and transmission should work for the duration of my build, hopefully. Hopefully I don't mess anything up. And then here I have my Devil's Own methanol controller box. So I do have methanol injection, and I'm running that with 91 octane. So when it mixes, it creates higher octane, and because it is also mixed with water, it helps cool the air that's going into the intake. And the tank is located in the trunk. It's actually, we're reusing the stock intercooler spray tank. So instead of adding all this bulky stuff or putting it in the hood, under the hood of the car on the front, we're just reusing what's there. AMR from my intercooler, Grimspeed lightweight crank pulley, Grimspeed air oil separator, Turbo Smart dual port blow valve. It's in dual mode right now. What was this? Omni 3-bar map sensor, Grimspeed electronic boost controller. I am a Grimspeed fanboy. There's the NVIDIA downpipe. I'm running a Tile 44mm external wastegate, which actually is a loaner from my mechanic. And so is this turbo. It's a JDM ball bearing VF34 stock location. There's where the methanol line kicks in. So it injects right before the throttle body, and it mists into it. It doesn't spray, it mists. So typical K&N intake. You guys have seen that already. And then some IAG bling. This was pretty expensive, guys. This was like, I think all these pieces together was like $300. It's pretty pricey. This got messed up because the battery acid or whatever it is came out of my old battery. I actually got a new one. This is a new one. See, it's a 2014. But it's the OEM one from Subaru. And stock manifold. I actually have, can't really see it too good, but I have Grimspeed cross pipe and up pipe, and the up pipe has the little Y on it for the external wastegate. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm rolling around with. That and the Grimspeed, what do you call it? Little bonnet dealies. Love these things. Hood dampers, yeah. It's nice because it's in a very good angle. Light gets in better. If you're pulling the motor, it makes it easier. And they function better. They're a lot smoother. Yeah, so that's pretty much my motor. And I do have a 05 style that fits onto an 07. I didn't get this custom built. It's Kakumi they make it, so all the mounts and stuff fit directly to the '07 style. Sorry, it's hard to see. And I'll just use the light. And I replaced the bolts with stainless steel from Fastenal. Stainless steel bolts and washers. Not for the shroud, but just for those, because they were starting to rust over here. Then if you shut it, and of course the hood, and then there's a good view of the Spexy roof vent. So, yeah, I'm very happy with the roof vent. It works great. It doesn't go all the way through. One mod that I'm planning on doing, if my mechanic is up to it still and gets the time, is I want to replace the plastic handle that comes with it for a metal one, either aluminum or sheet metal or something, so that it's more solid. Because the handle on his actually broke after how many years, but he does do some pretty wild pulls with it, 100 plus miles an hour, you know, just having fun. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much my car as it sits. Now, time to look at the parts. Alright, yeah, you may notice that the parts are out of the boxes. I actually tried to record this once and it got messed up, so I just decided to re-record it. So I have Fortune 500 auto coilovers. Totally unnecessary, but I got them just for the hell of it. You go big or go home, right? Don't go halfway. So I got all the options. These are the 500 series, not the 510s or the Dreadnought, which are very nice. I got the rear extenders. I got the Swift springs, helper springs, and I also got the, I always get this wrong, radial bushing mount, I think. It helps with spring pop so it doesn't pop. These do have camber plates on the front, so they're adjustable camber, and they have the knobs for the stiffness. Yeah, so that's that. And over here, Mishimoto X-Line radiator, Zero Sport Auto Lab composite TGV deletes. These puppies are pretty cool because they have little grooves for rubber ring inserts, so you don't have to buy gaskets. You just have to keep in mind that the torque spec on it, I believe, is a little lighter than stock because they aren't made of metal. But because of that, they're also really light, even though it doesn't really matter too much, but the lighter the better, right? I'm going with, or I have Kinagawa fuel rails. I like the way that they're cut out to help fit the wiring for the injectors, and just the way they're made. It's all one solid piece. I'm sure you've seen them on eBay and you probably thought, they're garbage. These are great. So, I mean, really look at them. I forget how much they cost, like $70, $80. It's not bad. AP turbo inlet, 3-inch. And then I have a DEI heat wrap. Air motor fuel pressure regulator. This goes with the radiator. It's a temperature cap thermometer. Cobb, double adjustable shifter. So height and throw. Because I do want to keep the shifter long, but I want the actual shifting itself to be short, if that makes sense. I like the shifter to be standard height or higher, but not a dildo shifter, or not like a frickin' Ken Block, Travis Pastrana Rally sequential shifter. I don't need that. This one, Killer Bee oil pickup tube. Highly, highly, highly recommend this thing. Get it. Your life depends on it. Get this thing for $200 and the peace of mind. Cannot beat it. The stock one tends to crack and break off, usually at the end of the neck where it hooks onto the car. And a lot of this is contributed to running the car really hard, especially when it's stock motor, and the vibration, because it is a boxer engine, so there is rumble. Woof woof. Like I said, I went through these once before, so they're all like out in the open. Okay, let's see, what is this, Mishimoto? Yeah, the thermostat. And these two are actually the same. It's a a male Y connector for my fueling. I have the Kinogawa fuel rails, and then because I don't have a distribution block, this is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to put them on either side. They're going to go into the fuel rails, come out the other side, hook to my fuel pressure regulator. Let's see, Cobb. These are front and rear bushings, I believe. Yeah. And then this injector dynamics, 1000cc injectors, and also the plug and play. This one is an agency power pitch stop mount, I believe. Let's see, what else do I have? And this one's master cylinder brace for the sponginess of the brakes. These replace the stock plastic reservoirs. So you got the coolant, and then the power steering, and then down in the bottom there's actually two boxes. One is radiator hosing, the top and the bottom, and one is the ancillary hoses, and they're both red. So that's pretty much it for that box. Man, where'd I get all this stuff? Too much stuff. Too much. Okay, and then here's that catch can that I'm going to run with the air oil separator. If you notice, it has brass elbows, so no plastic. It has a cap instead of the filter, so that when you're at idle, the heat isn't making the oil evaporate and, you know, it's all smelly. It's a preference, you don't have to have it, but my mechanic likes doing it that way, and I totally 100% agree. And then the actual way you drain it is hooked to the bottom. You just screw it in and it drains out, so you don't have to, like, you know, wrench out a bolt in order to do it, which I like. This is a overflow reservoir, I believe, the Moroso, so metal. Here's my actual external wastegate. The only reason we didn't put it on is because when I was at the shop, he decided to do it then, and I didn't have this with me. I didn't know what was going to happen. So we swapped the turbo and took out that Turbo Smart external wastegate that I had on there and put the tile. And here's the gauges, the EGT, oil temp, water temp. This is digital, red and blue, the Pro Sport Evos. And then I also have the sandwich plate adapter and the radiator adapter. If I find a better way to run it, I will. So we'll see. And I also have the agency power, I think it's a clutch line, but I'm not sure how good the quality. I just got it because it was really cheap. So we'll see how it works out. These are mud flaps. I think Rally Sport or whatever, I can't remember. Rally Tech, something like that. This is for the turbo because it's supposed to be a direct bolt-on for stock location. So you got like steel braided lines and stuff like that. So, you know. And then I think it's the ATP, I believe. Turbo blanket. Super tone hella horns. The blue boxes at the bottom are Okada coil and boots, or coil packs and boots. So they help with the ignition stuff. It goes with the one-step cooler spark plugs I run. Let's see, what is this? I can't see it. PTP turbo blankets. So that is what it is. July 2013. And then this is supposed to go with the gauges to help hook it in, the adapter. But again, if I find a better way to run that and run these, I will. Okay. And then I got tons of gaskets for when we take the car apart, just in case, you know, exhaust, turbo, up pipe. This is actually a spacer just in case. Manifold. Yeah, if you notice, I'm running a Grimspeed cross pipe, so the manifold elbows are still stock. My mechanic's actually going to port those out, so it'll flow even better. And then the GTX, the ATP GTX 3076R, dual ball bearing stock location turbo. This is what I'm going to be running. This is kind of like the secondary heart of the car. So, 11 blade compressor wheel. It's supposed to have better low end, but we'll see. I've heard people say that it's too big. I've heard people say that it's just right. I've heard people say that it's not big enough. But considering this is my first build, I'm tired of collecting parts. I'm just going to put it on, see what it'll do. Okay, now for the next room of parts. Alright. In this box, I have CDF Racing timing covers, the left and the right. They come with aluminum spacers and the bolts. It's supposed to be able to withstand the heat as well as yellowing or blackening or darkening, so we'll see. It's actually cracked a little bit right there. I don't know if that was from shipping or what, but you know, it won't hurt it, I don't think. So yeah, and I'm actually going to go with the red theme for the rest of it. So, you know, the intake manifold, the center timing cover, and the valve covers are red, as well as a lot of the hosing and turbo blanket. I just hope it won't be too much red. And then, to keep going with the Killer Bee stuff, the oil pan, and then the baffle is actually inside along with the hardware. So, yeah, there's the baffle. Hardware's inside, you can't really hear it, but it's there. So, this thing's really good. And believe it or not, if you guys didn't know, the bolts aren't actually the main thing that hold the pan on. Really, it's the sealant, that ultra gray or whatever you call it. Because if you take the bolts out when you're trying to remove one of these, if you notice, the thing won't come off. You got to pry it. So the bolts are kind of like an added thing just in case, but really it's the sealant that really holds this thing on. So these hold very well under the car. And then because of this, you know, this actual product, it's stronger. So, you know, less chance it'll leak, less chance it'll bend up into the car and mess with the function of the oil pickup tube. It's totally unnecessary, but it's something that, again, going big or go home, so I got it. And it does hold a little bit more oil, so can never hurt, right? And then these are the intake and exhaust valves, GSC. And the rest of the motor parts are actually at my mechanic shop. So I have GSC S2 cams. They've been micro polished. These valves are already micro polished. I have an STI 2.5 semi-closed deck short block case halves. They're at the shop, and they've actually been, I guess the word is honed over one size. So it's, instead of 99.5, which I believe is the stock size for an STI, it's actually 99.75. And then that's the size of the pistons I'm going to be running. And I'm actually going to be running Manley pistons and Manley, I think, H-beam. They're not I-beam, they're H-beam rods. Not sure if they're turbo tough or whatever. I left it up to my mechanic. And then the crankshaft is a 2013 STI OEM crank. And the crank is micro polished, the rods are micro polished, and then the pistons you don't need to micro polish, I believe. And then I have King bearings, main and rod bearings, and I don't think those are micro polished either. You don't need to. But I was actually gonna go with Wiseco pistons at first, but my mechanic, he asked me last second, which one do you want? Do you want Wiseco or do you want to go with these Manleys? Because the Manleys were already balanced and ready to go, and he actually put them on a counter and showed me. And Manleys actually have more side skirt, so what that means is when they're traveling up and down in the cylinder walls, because it has more material, there's less chance that they'll rock back and forth, which is what most people call piston slap. The only downside to having more material is they are heavier, even just by a little, so they might possibly move slower. But I'm not building like a super high rev car where, you know, I need to use lighter components. so it's okay. So I decided last second to go with the Manleys. And let's see, what else do I have in here? I think it's the last box. This is the timing belt pulley combo box. So I have like a water pump in there. I got the, what is it, the hydraulic tensioner, the pulleys, the belt. And then I have 2 more belts. You got power steering and AC, I believe. And then I got Cusco motor and transmission mounts. These are actually rated for only up to, I think, the 05 STI, but with adapter plates you can fit them on the 07, so I'm going to be running those. And then here's the oil pump. It's 11 millimeter. And then white line rear, I think it's rear or front. Front or rear? Well, no, the front has camber plates already, so the rear camber bolts. I think it's like up to negative 1.5 or something like that. So for being really cheap, it just helps, you know, set up the car better. Yeah. And some of you guys that are having trouble picking an oil pump, from what I've learned, what I understand, a good way to set it up is just remember 0, 1, and 2. So if it's a 10, or if it's 0 AVCS, as in no AVCS, get a 10. If you have single AVCS, which is 1, get a 11 millimeter. And if it's dual, which is 2 AVCS, get a 12 millimeter pump. But you can also get an 11 for no AVCS if you want. But you know, the main thing is, I guess, don't go over. Possibly. Don't quote me on this, but I do know that it's for the 10, 11, 12, it's 0, 1, and 2 for AVCS, for the active valve cam timing, I believe. Because they are hydraulically driven with the oil pump. Yeah. Okay, and we're going to head back to the room real fast. Alright, so that's basically what I have. The stuff that I have here, and then it's at my mechanic shop, which is basically the rotating assembly, which I believe is already together. And then he has my cams, and then I'm actually going to have head work done. Once the car's turned in, he's going to pull off my heads, do head work. And like I said before, the manifold, he's going to be porting out those manifold elbows. And then I wanted to mention that the reason why I have the DEI heat wrap is because I'm actually going to be changing out that red intercooler piping. He has a universal piping kit. He's going to be rerouting and creating the better piping, and then we're going to wrap it in this. And for my next video, because I do have more parts coming, I'm going to show you. But for my next video, I want you to keep in mind. These parts. All right, I want you to keep in mind the fuel rails. I want you to keep in mind these, the TGV deletes. I want you to remember what type of intake manifold I have, which is the STI 07 2.5 intake manifold, the OEM one. And I want you to remember this, the turbo inlet. Okay, the reason why is because last second when I was hanging at the shop, I decided to go even bigger. No, not a Cosworth, not a Process West intake manifold, even though they're goddamn beautiful. Not that Forza one, but I am going to get a bigger one. And a little hint, because it is bigger, I won't need these anymore, and because it's bigger, these won't fit anymore. So I need new fuel rails, which I'm getting. I already ordered them; they're on the way. And because it's bigger, and I'm not running these, I'm actually going to be getting KS Tech phenolic spacers, 19 millimeters, as well as gaskets to fit on either side. And then again, because this new intake manifold is bigger, I can go bigger with this. So I'm actually not going to use this. I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to use this. And I'm going to, with that custom piping stuff, it's going to get built bigger. So the intake is going to be huger. So it'll feed the turbo better. Yep. So this is pretty much where I'm at. Again, keep this stuff in mind for the next video. Thank you for subscribing. I know I said this in my other video. I'm not really out for subscribers, but what the subscriptions do tell me is that people are interested in my content, and they want to be subscribed, so they know when more comes out. So I thank you for that. I thank you for sharing the same interest with me. I'm very dedicated to this build, as you can see. It is taking a while. When I went to my mechanic to get the stuff built, he already had, like, I don't know, 8-10 cars in front of me. So, you know, I am coming into it late, but I mean, a lot has been done. You know, the forge internals have been micro polished. He got me short block case halves. It's already ready to go. It's prepped, machined, ready to go. He just needs to get me in, build the motor, and then there's some custom stuff along with the build that's going to be done. Yeah, one thing I noticed, I don't know where I have a box of steel braided brake lines, but I don't know where it went. Yeah, so yeah, that's another thing that I actually have. I could have sworn it was in one of these boxes, but I don't remember seeing it. But yeah, I also have steel braided brake lines, so that's going to go along with the coilovers. Yeah. So yeah, again, thank you for subscribing. There will be more content. I am dedicated to this build 1000%. I don't know how long it's going to take, but when it's done, as you can see, you know, with these parts that I believe are good quality, the car is going to be really solid. And I'm hoping, because this is a daily driver, but I don't want to, you know, put all this money and all this effort into building something that's only like 300 to the wheels. It's not worth it. You know, you might as well stay stage 2. Yeah. Oh, I also have a clutch at his shop too. I think it's a competition stage 2, which feels close to stock but more powerful. But anyways, so yeah, I'm hoping for it'll be 400 all-wheel horsepower for sure. There's no question about it. But it just depends on how he tunes it, because you know, I don't want it to be just top end. I don't want it to be just low end. I want it to be kind of mid, you know. If some Mustang jerk comes up next to me, I want to be able to spank him, whether it's from a dead stop, from a roll, from high speed, whatever, it doesn't matter. I want to destroy that guy next to me. If he's acting like a douche. If he's cool and he waves or whatever, I'll be cool right back. And I do want to go down to the drag strip, which I live near, once it's built, and lay down some times. I'm hoping to be able to run 11s. So I'm hoping 450 to 500. I know it's because I am only going to be running semi-closed deck. It's not good to push too far past 500. My mechanic's actually going to be rebuilding his motor later on, 2.5, and it's a closed deck billet aluminum block. I think it's worth like $8 grand just the block. It's already built. He just needs to do the heads and all that, and I think he's hoping for like 650. He's going to go custom, I think, V-mount. Because he's talking about right now, he's going to go V-mount and God knows what turbo. I mean, I've seen him build a 25G, if you've ever even heard of that. You know, and it's the anti-surge one. So, yeah, he's got some crazy awesome ideas. And on 91 and methanol, so, yeah. Alright, well, I said this for like 3 times already. Thank you for watching. This is where I'm at. You know, this is what you're subscribed to. And stay tuned. The next video will be about the manifold and the fuel rails, and hopefully the spacers come at the same time. And I'm actually gonna show you, because I have 2 Subarus parked next to me, both Outbacks. One's crossover, one's sedan, and they actually have some stuff I'm going to show you that, you know, compares the 3 and what I'm going to be doing and all that. So it'll be interesting. Alright, peace.